is, as everyone knows now, is quite famous. It's new guitars that look old.
That's correct.
And they sound old as well, that's the idea, yeah?
Yeah, as near as possible as we can specify the instrument, as close as we can possibly get to the original components that would have gone into the guitar from, say, the 50s or 60s, which is principally what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
So, within the constraints of modern construction, it's as close as we can get.
Okay. And what about because they're torn and worn everywhere, yeah? And does that affect the sound because of wood?
It's really mainly cosmetic, the relicing. However, through the relicing process, most of these guitars are finished in nitrocellulose lacquer, which, as you relic it, becomes thinner. Now, a very thin skin of lacquer on a premium wood body will change the resonance of the instrument.
Yeah.
So the reason people like old guitars so much is frequently the lacquer has sunk into the body and worn away.
And that's part of the process.
Exactly. Old guitars sound very bright and punchy for that very reason, which is much harder wearing, but tends to restrict the wood of the guitar somewhat.
Okay.
So the tonality is maybe less extreme.
Yeah. So what happens to these when you give this 50 years? If you give this guitar 50 years and play it every day, what's going to happen?
It'll be gone. There'll be nothing left. Yeah, absolutely. The finish would be worn. Yeah. I mean, you've got a head start on the process, but the same would happen if you had an original 1963 Stratocaster and you played it for the next 30 years. You know, that would be gone. You know, look at Rory Gallagher's Strats, look at the SRVs and things like that. The finish is completely gone.
Yeah. Would it change the tone in a different way than if you bought a new one and played it for 30 years?
Probably. Again, a new one is polyurethane.
Take a longer time to wear through that.
It will go, particularly on the top corner here.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's a much tougher finish and tends to be applied more thickly in a very thick coating, which again kind of constricts the guitar.
Yeah.
But the process of applying nitrocellulose these days is quite an expensive process. So it tends to be restricted to more high-end products.
Yeah. So for Fender in the 70s, they went kind of through a bit of a dip there.
Sure, yeah.
And then they brought in the Signature Series, and they kind of came back on the market properly.
That's right, yeah.
And Clapton's one was the first one, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he came out through the same time. It was really at the time when Bill Schultz took over the running of Fender in the late 80s and really brought it back to where it was coming from in the first place. Talking to the players, talking to the guys who had the legacy from Fender, who knew what worked and what didn't work. Artist guitars started to appear at that time, starting with Clapton, as you say. The whole concept of the custom shop started around 87, which makes this year, of course, the 20th anniversary. And it proved very successful just by going back to basics fundamentally and starting to rebuild good guitars. Whereas during the 70s, CBS, who had bought out the company from Leo Fender in the 60s, maybe didn't put the same investment into the product that subsequently turned the company around.
And then when did the Relic Series kick in?
Relic's really, again, that goes back to a NAMM show quite early on, where they took a whole load of Telecasters which had been Relic, didn't tell anybody they were doing it, took them to the show, and everybody said, "Oh, man, where'd you find all these old tellies from?" And I thought, oh, we're onto this, we're onto something here. And then obviously there's a story about Keith Richards, who asked for a replica of his guitar, which they built, but they built it in pristine condition. Took it to Keith, "That's not my guitar, take it away, beat it up." So that kind of stuff was bubbling around the early 90s. They really started to come into their own in the late 90s, early 2000s, fairly recently, as a regular product in the catalogue. So.
Is it really popular now, the Relic Series?
Extremely popular, we do more of this kind of thing by a factor of probably 10 to 1. Relics to regular NOS, people love them, absolutely love them. We do a lot of custom order guitars for people where they specify their own instruments, and it's nearly always heavy, super heavy, or extreme relics that they want, completely beaten up. That's what the guys are after, and the girls.
Which one is your favourite out of the ones that are made kind of like, this is the Relic, blah blah blah, and you can order it whenever you want, not a special custom shop, but just like a kind of series production.
The 60s Sunburst Relic I really like.
Yeah.
It's a great guitar, and the Rory Gallagher.
Yeah.
It's a great instrument, yeah.
How much is the Rory Gallagher?
Rory Gallagher retails in the UK at £2,699.99.
That's gotta be good then.
Oh yeah, it's a great guitar.
Cool. Any favourites here?
My personal favourite of this lot is probably this guitar.
Yeah.
I just think it looks like an old guitar that's been modded.
Yeah.
It's got hot pickups, so this is a Seymour Duncan JB, I should say, Jazz Blues, with 2 Texas Specials.
Yeah.
It has a modern neck radius.
Is the middle one reversed as well? Or
No, it's just straight round. Modern neck radius, medium jumbo fret, so it has a modern playability.
Yeah.
Very modern, hot modern tone, but it looks like a 60s guitar.
Yeah.
You know, that somebody's messed around with.
Yeah. You know these saddles here?
Yeah.
For a while in the 80s, 90s, they were like thicker and more, they had a different kind of look to them. Were they not as popular, or is that why these have come back, or is it more of a vintage feel to it?
If you look at the modern American series guitars, they have different saddles again.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Yeah, these things are actually made on the original machines that were making them in the 60s.
Yeah.
So if you go to the Fender factory in Corona, which is a very modern and up-to-date plant, in the middle of it you'll see these big old metal presses, which are the same presses that they had there in the 50s and 60s from the old factory. And these are still made on the original presses.
So it's exactly the same then, basically.
Absolutely identical, yeah. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about it being as close as we can get to the real thing.
Actually using the same machinery.
It's the same guitar. So the jig patterns for the necks and the bodies are the same ones that we used in the 50s and 60s.
Wow.
You can't get any closer.
Yeah.
There's some components you just can't get anymore. On regular time machine, the Alnico magnets, we source them as accurately as possible, but some of that stuff is just not available. Same with the wire that binds them. But it's as close as we can humanly get to.
Yeah. Cool. Right, and we have some amps here as well. Is that based on the original Champ then?
No, that's Pro Junior.
Oh, okay.
This is fundamentally a modern amp, but it's done as a set with the custom shop guitar, so it's relic in the same finish.
Okay, so it's supposed to
but it's a modern amplifier.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just a little package that we like to put together with some things. Same as this one. That's based on this is a 55 telly with a matching Pro Junior, and a relic case.
Everything's relic.
The case is aged as well. Yeah.